What's up, guys? Colorado Avalanche strikes again. Two trades in 2 days. And this time, they give up a guy who we all thought was going to be part of a huge ass deal to go acquire a guy like maybe Ben Sherratt or maybe a guy like Hampus Lindholm. Instead, it's a one-for-one deal. Tyson Jost has been traded to the Minnesota Wild um, in return for Nico Sturm, German player that played for the Minnesota Wild. So we're going to be discussing like why this trade happened and who essentially, in terms of like for now, who won this deal because no one expected this deal to go down 1-for-1. People thought once again that Colorado would have included him in a bigger package to go out and acquire somebody else, like maybe like Claude Giroux. But according to Pierre LeBrun of TSN, he stated that the Avalanche are going to save about $1.3 million in this deal, but they get a guy in return who is huge. He's 6'3", 207 pounds. So definitely he's going to be playing on the fourth line for the Colorado Avalanche. And we all know he's 26 years old. He's supposed to be in his prime right now. Maybe he does wonders in Colorado, but they're already top heavy. They're sick. Their top six is already solidified, and he's going to be playing bottom 6 minutes. But in Tyson Jost's case, that guy has a high ceiling that he has yet to achieve, and he has a lot of potential. He's only 24 years old, and he has a couple of seasons with the Colorado Avalanche, but it just seems like it wasn't a fit, and he needed a change of scenery, and that's why this deal was made.
Yeah, honestly, I'm actually pretty shocked that they did like a one-for-one deal, and they traded for an older. I mean, 2 years older of a player. Uh, I mean, yeah, I think what this was a cap dump essentially. I mean, I think Colorado has something else in planned, or
Claude Giroux, that's what I would say.
Claude Giroux is most likely the case. I mean, their defense is pretty solid, so I mean, it can't be a defenseman that they're going after. And Yeah, so I mean, they got. I think this guy's he's getting paid. Sturm is getting paid
Yeah,
750K, I
yeah,
believe. So
which
yeah,
is
I mean
huge.
they're saving some money here. So it's for sure a cap dump. I don't think it was like a change of scenery kind of thing, even though Joe's kind of needed one. Uh, but I think he's gonna be playing, second line in Minnesota. Is where I expect him to be.
Yeah, because you got Frederick Goudreau centering the second line in between Matt Boldy and Kevin Fiala at the moment. And a guy like Tyson Jost, who has the skill, who has the potential to be a top six forward. He was drafted in the first round by the Colorado Avalanche in 2016. There was high hopes for him. And it just seems like Colorado was not a fit. Things just didn't work out. Maybe with a team like the Minnesota Wild, who are relatively young, and they value team chemistry and stuff, and having a guy like Matt Boldy play on the same line as him, maybe there's somewhat of a young connection going on there. Two young guns, no pun intended. But Sturm only played full seasons for the last 2 seasons with the Colorado Avalanche. Beforehand, he played 6 games in 2019, 2020, and then 2 games in 2018, 2019. So don't expect anything significant on Stern's part for the Colorado Avalanche. This is more of a win for the Minnesota Wild because Jost still has the opportunity to hit that ceiling where he could be a top six forward. And they've wanted a centerman for so long, but Minnesota is kind of in cap hell right now. So how do they acquire a center that fits their needs to play in the top six? Well, this is the type of trade that you make. You trade for a guy that needs a change of scenery, that has the potential to develop into a top centerman, and that's Tyson Jost essentially.
Uh, Two things. I remember when we were talking about trade destinations for a few players, and what the Minnesota Wild were looking for is they're looking for a guy that can not only play wing but that could also play the center. So
Yeah.
I know we were throwing out Max Domi out there, and I think Jost is just as good as Max Domi and cheaper. So I mean, essentially they got a Max Domi kind of guy. That's why I would compare him to.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see that. I kind of see what you're trying to say here. Obviously, Max Pacioretty. Oh my God, Max Domi.
Max Domi is more established.
Yeah, he's more established. We know what to expect from him. But both guys were drafted in the first round. So I mean, and they're not, the the tallest guys either, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just see what how tall Tyson
But I
Jost.
mean, listen, if ever they do still want to go pick up a
Yeah,
center,
Tyson Jost is 5'11".
he could go on the wing. He
Max
plays
Domi, if I'm
he,
not
he plays
mistaken.
every single position. Sorry, Tyson Jost,
Yeah,
left wing, right wing, and center. So
Max Domi is essentially, like you said, he plays the left wing and center. And if I'm not mistaken, Max Domi is about like what 5'9", 5'10". So the height comparison makes sense, and both guys, they both. I would say Tyson Joseph is in the same situation as Max Domi. Gets drafted by a team, in Max Domi's case, Arizona, and Tyson Joseph's Colorado. High potential, high ceiling, all that stuff, a lot of skill. They could do so much damage on the team, but they never lived up to that. So then there's a trade that happens, Max Domi for Alex Galchenyuk. Both need a change of scenery. And then after you have Tyson Jost obviously being traded to Minnesota, who needs a change of scenery. But what I like about this deal is that Minnesota gets a guy who's young and they could work with. They could save this guy and
and
they
he's
could
cheap.
develop him. And yeah, and he's not that expensive either. So being drafted 10th overall in 2016 by Colorado, he has definitely not lived up to the hype. But you go to a team like Minnesota where he could surround himself with a guy like Kaprizov, Boldy, Fiala, Zuccarello, um,
Well, he's gonna be getting more minutes too.
Eriksson Ek, like fantastic group of there's a good group of veterans mixed in with younger players. So I think that's going to be very beneficial for Jost. And not only that, Jost is going to be given the opportunity to play top line minutes, as opposed to in Colorado, you already have your two centers established on the first and second line. You
And
have
you kind of have your wingers established too.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine like you know how much it would have took for Jost to try to push one of those guys out of the top six? It would have taken a lot, a lot, a lot. And we already know how powerful Colorado is, how heavy they are in their top six, even on their defense. No one really speaks about how good their defense is. Everyone always talks about how good offensively they are. But again, the going to Minnesota gives Jost the opportunity to push out somebody like Zuccarello, who's up there in age. He's 36 or 37 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and try to work himself up through the lineup. It's not going to be given to him. He's definitely going to have to work for it, but I think Minnesota is a beautiful fit for Jost.
Now I want to kind of talk about Colorado here. Now they did this cap dump because that's basically what it is. They're not they didn't see Nico Sturm and were like, oh, this is fair value. Even though they have similar points, I don't see that being the case. So, I mean, is it Claude Giroux that they have planned to go get? Because they only have 2 million in cap space, so that means either another move is coming, or Flyers are doing a hell of a salary retention and
Um, I don't know if you remember this, but Gabriel Landeskog and Samuel Girard are both on LTIR, so they kind of have some wiggle room there. Shedding off 1.3 million.
I'm pretty
Uh,
sure they're coming back before the playoffs though.
yeah, I mean, there's a
So
chance.
then,
There's a chance too. But I'm just gonna look into something very quickly. Um,
because
again,
I
let me
mean, some guys. Well, Samuel Girard is not on the LTIR, and neither is Landeskog. So
and another thing about Minnesota that I want to say because Sturm, we already know what to expect from him. We already know what he's capable of. He's going to be a fourth line guy, maybe even a healthy scratch some nights. But Jost, something I also wanted to add is that Minnesota's a very balanced team in terms of how offensively good they are and how defensively good they are. So as a centerman, building up a guy like Jost, he's going to be able, to practice and be better at probably if taking faceoffs, coming back into the defensive zone and playing more defensive, not playing that style that Colorado plays offensively, where they're just, you know, going towards the net all the time, And there's certain players like the third and fourth line in that case, maybe even just a fourth line, because a third line, on any team would be a second line in Colorado and in the rest of the league, for Colorado. So, this is I think he's going to be given the opportunity to really work on his game as a whole. I think he's going to learn how to be better at taking faceoffs, back checking. Maybe try him out on the PK unit as well. Like I said, I mean, there's really not much to say about Jost. Like like, is he gonna fix Minnesota's problems? Because they're kind of in a slump right now. No, even the GM even said it. This is a move that I don't expect him to save our season or anything. Because as we all know, that Minnesota started very strong and then they started to decline the last couple of weeks. This is more of an internal thing to work out. And people are gonna say maybe they're trying to send a message. Bringing a guy like Jost, maybe it's trying to tell the players, we got a guy with high potential. Maybe this guy could take one of our spots. I don't think it's that either. I think it was just a good hockey deal.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, they're still a rebuilding team, right? I mean, regardless of the wins.
I think last year they were in that phase where, like, they're somewhat still rebuilding, but after this season, I think they've officially established themselves as contenders. Are they necessarily going to win this year? I don't think so. But as of right now, the rebuilding window has officially closed, and now they have to find a way to become buyers, even though they have a very tight cap space. But moving forward in the years to come, you guys have, like, Boldy to work around with. Fiala, if he ends up staying, because I know he's been a part of a lot of trade rumors as well. Um, Maybe they get rid of him to clear some cap space. But there's a couple guys they have to sign too. I know they just re-signed Greenway as well. So, like, right now, I think that it's going to be a very quiet deadline for the Minnesota Wild, and I think this is the only move they make. I honestly think this is the only move they make. To be honest, I don't think they do anything else. I think they're going to stand still and just watch the deadline from afar and be like, you know what, we're happy with Jost. We didn't give up much in terms of getting a good quality hockey player in return that has a high potential, and I think we could really help him establish and turn him into a top six forward. And not only that, we need a centerman. We need a guy because, like, you have Ryan Hartman, who has never played first line minutes in his life until this season. And like, they don't have an established first line center. Like, they don't have a guy that's been playing center for many years. They're gonna have no choice to look at their team, their organization, their prospects, the players on their team right now, and be like, let's see what we could do, because they're so tight in terms of cap space that they have no choice to look at the solution internally instead of looking outside their team and being like, let's see who we can make a difference. And I highly doubt that they trade Fiala, unless it's a hockey deal that makes sense for them. So, anyways, that's all I have to say about the deal. I think
Yeah, as to regards of when you mentioned what was it that you had said? Oh God, refresh my memory about the trade deadline, about the Minnesota Wilds not making a single deal at all. It's possible. I mean, do I see them making a big splash or doing something crazy? No, but I mean, like, maybe like trading away like minor draft, like to receive like little draft picks here and there, maybe an AHL deal or something. I mean, I could see that happening. I don't see them making another Jost kind of deal. Uh, I mean, unless Kevin Fiala, if someone gives them an offer they can't really refuse, but I
it's
doubt
gonna
that
have
would
to be a
happen.
hockey deal. It's gonna have to be a hockey deal, or it's gonna have to be a deal where they get rid of Nick Bukestad's contract or Victor Rask's contract, where they put on waivers multiple times. But they're gonna have to give up more assets to get rid of those bad contracts. Or maybe like I said, they don't do anything. They stand put. They stand still. They
It's
just stay in the
possible.
same position that they are right now. They hope for the best. They hope that the team internally wakes up. They start playing better. They will make the playoffs, no doubt in my
I mean,
mind.
listen, they got what they needed. That's at the end of the day. I mean,
They got it.
we said it in our Minnesota Why Are They So Good video. I mean, they would need a guy who could potentially be like their second line center and who could potentially play the wing if needed. So they got their guy, and I don't think Claude Giroux's not definitely not going there anymore.
No, no. If
I-
anything, this kind of, like, signals that, like, Claude Giroux is very close to going to a team like the Colorado Avalanche, and Philly has a lot of interest in their prospect pool because they have a fantastic prospect pool. And just to close up this episode, we thought that Tyson Jost would have been part of the deal heading to Philadelphia, but
yeah,
that's unlikely because he's headed to Minnesota.
I
So we just
think
wanted to say, yeah, sorry.
I think now it's gonna kind of be New Hook or I see Bowen Byron maybe going there.
Yeah, I mean,
It would have
maybe
to be
that's
one of those
maybe
guys.
that's too much, I would say, in terms of, like, yeah,
Well,
maybe
one
New
of them. I'm
Hook.
not saying both, but
Yeah,
one.
New Hook makes more sense. But they definitely have other prospects that could be moved. But we just wanted to say, guys, we're going to be going live on Monday on the NHL trade deadline. We're going to be talking about a lot of moves. As you know, they're announced essentially. I know we were kind of late to this one. Obviously, we were out doing things, but we're gonna be trying to be as quick as possible. But we want to hear your thoughts, and so like write down in the comment section below who won this deal. Is it too early to assess this deal? What's the type of player that Minnesota got in return, and what's the type of player that Colorado got in return? And what do you think when looking at both players? What damage can they do, and if any damage at all for those two teams? And it's going to be a very fun deadline heading towards Monday. We're expecting a lot more deals. I know it was more quiet, but now it's starting to pick up. And don't forget to check out our trade rumors series. That's a fantastic series that we worked up really hard on. So don't forget to check out those videos. Look at all our trade deadline breakdowns that we did in terms of the sellers and the buyers. We have a playlist ready for that. And also the trade breakdowns that we did leading up to the deadline as well. There's a Toffoli one. We have the Josh Manson one. We have the Jack Eichel one. I know that's a little bit of a while ago, but we have a lot of content you guys could check out. Once again, thank you for 500 subscribers. We're on our way to 600 and potentially 1K. So thank you so much, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.